Welcome to Guild Wars 2 Goldlocked, a challenge series where I am exploring the world of Tyria one map at a time, but in each map I have to earn 50 gold before moving on to the next. Today we are exploring Bloodtide Coast. I am pretty excited for this zone as we have spent a lot of time in the Shiver Peaks and Ascalon, so this should be a bit of a fresh experience as far as the aesthetics of the map goes. As far as the gameplay goes, there are definitely quite a few things to explore. Just like with any other open world map, there are a wide variety of different points of interest, tasks, and other map completion objectives that I want to go ahead and complete. When it comes to any part of exploring Tyria, especially if it is your first time through, but even on subsequent playthroughs, I highly recommend taking time to really appreciate and enjoy each individual map in the game. There are so many different interesting details, fun little interactions, hidden secrets, and areas to discover, and in the context of this entire series, some interesting ways to make gold in less than optimal ways. Getting 100% completion in Bloodtide Coast is a great opportunity to assess the map and get a general idea of what some decent gold farms may be. During this part of my Goldlocked videos, I've been talking about some ideas and tips related to making gold, and I only have a couple of bigger ideas left to go over. So let's go over one of them now. And that idea is making gold through offering services. And yes, some of you may be thinking about some activities that used to be popular in MMOs in the mid to late 2000s, and you might be able to find a buyer in Guild Wars 2, but I have never even seen that in this game. With Tyria being such a massive world, there is a lot of content in this game, and helping players through content is a common thing you see. To one extreme, boosting in raids is an incredibly common thing that a lot of people can make a lot of gold from, and I personally have negative feelings towards this, and I'll leave that as that. But more commonly throughout the world, you can find hard to reach locations that many players would be willing to pay or tip to get help reaching. Most commonly are the end of hard jumping puzzles or specific things like the diving goggles located in Not So Secret. This idea becomes even more relevant whenever a specific jumping puzzle is part of the Wizard's Vault weekly objectives, because a massive influx of people are wanting to reach the end of whichever specific jumping puzzle. Most often, and the way that I will always recommend, is that you can offer the services for free and just help a bunch of people out, and inevitably some people will send you gold as a tip. Personally, I don't really like accepting them and send them back because I don't really care about it, but most people will happily take tips, and it can really help boost your wallet, and you're helping people out in the process. In a slightly different way, you could directly charge somebody to do something specific so you get a guaranteed payout, and that has its own positives and negatives, but is significantly less common to see in Guild Wars 2, and is also personally something I have never done. And this entire idea can be translated to a lot of different areas of the game, like helping people with specific achievements or through other pieces of instance content. But the most common way you see this happening in Guild Wars 2 is definitely jumping puzzles, especially the weekly one and various other hard to reach locations. As far as this Goldlocked character goes, that is outside of the scope of this series. So I have not and will not be doing any of that. Especially since we are a warrior where you typically want to be a mesmer so you can teleport people to places who do not have a teleporter friend on hand. Overall, this may be a fun and unique way to make gold if you need some extra cash. But after getting 100% map completion in the Bloodtide Coast, and even getting a Black Lion chest key to boot, I can return to a trading post. Bloodtide Coast is fun because there is a trading post located at Marsh Watch Haven in the Portage Hills in the northeastern corner of the map. But upon selling everything I naturally collected while getting 100% map completion, I got a grand total of 2 gold, 3 silver, and 8 copper. Before diving into more concentrated gold farms, let's do a classic run through of every gathering node in the map. Bloodtide Coast is a map that seems to be pretty packed with materials, with those materials being of pretty high value, so I have high hopes for this map. The primary ore we should be finding is platinum ore, with some rich platinum veins here and there alongside the occasional iron and gold node. We should also be getting some seasoned wood logs alongside hardwood logs, and then a wide variety of plants like mature herbs, variegated taproots, and even a sugar pumpkin node farm that is not going to net us much money but is still a fun idea. Going across the entire map was actually very easy and enjoyable. It felt like there were a ton of nodes to gather, but also the map was pretty big with a lot of swimming, so it ultimately took me 43 minutes to gather every node that I could find in each corner. The highlights are 70 platinum ore, selling for about 1 gold and 16 silver, 30 iron ore, selling for about 33 silver, 39 seasoned wood logs, selling for about 27 silver, 74 hardwood logs, selling for about 1 gold and 20 silver, 6 onions, selling for 12 silver, 1 sunstone lump, selling for about 30 silver, and 12 sugar pumpkins that don't really sell for anything. Altogether, I got a total of 3 gold, 81 silver, and 54 copper, which is roughly equal to 5 gold and 33 silver per hour. Pretty good, and the map was fun to run through to boot. Moving on, I think there is quite a bit of stuff that we can explore. Starting off, I want to talk about cursed pirate artifacts. This is a pretty well-known item that can be found in the northwestern corner of the map, while you help the prior put ghost pirates to rest during that task. This item falls into a slightly small category of items that are things needed for tasks and events that can actually be sold on the trading post. If you have been watching this series, you may remember one of my favorite farms we have done so far being the Barracuda meat found in Fireheart Rise, which is a very similar item to this. Unfortunately for us, cursed pirate artifacts are almost worthless. There are almost never buy orders for them because there are many sell orders, and the sell orders are only a few copper per item, meaning that putting up a buy order is basically a waste of time for any player who would want to buy these to instantly complete the task. So for us as a humble gold farmer, this popular item is a bust for us. I will quickly mention another item known as the pirate outfit, which can be found while helping to spy on other crafty corsairs during that task located in the Merchantman's Strait. Pretty much every single thing I said about the cursed pirate artifact is true with this item as well, except this one is less known in the Guild Wars 2 community. As such, it is a bust for us. But elsewhere in the map is a similar idea that is a little bit more interesting, and this one I made a tiny bit of a mistake on, which ultimately doesn't really matter too much, and this is the Skrit artifact. Honestly, maybe one of the most unique items in all of Guild Wars 2. Let me explain. This is another item that falls into that small category of items found throughout Tyria that play a part in a task or event that can be sold to other players on the trading post. But on top of all of that, this item can only be obtained if you have not completed the task. That task being to help assist Crusader Eileen of the Vigil recover lost Skrit territory. So if you have completed this task on a specific character, that specific character can never get this item again outside of buying them on the trading post, which serves no purpose other than to collect it or use it for the task. But then, to add a whole other layer of complexity to this item, each time you collect a Skrit artifact, you will earn 5% progress towards that renowned heart, meaning that if you do not do a single other thing in this task area, you can only earn a maximum of 20 Skrit artifacts per character ever, which is kind of a crazy idea. In some hypothetical world, if you wanted to farm this item, you would need to create a character, get it over to this area of the map, collect 20 Skrit artifacts, sell them, delete that character, and begin again. Obviously, that is not going to be a good gold farm, but these do actually sell for a decent amount of money, ranging between 10 and 20 silver. So if you come through here while doing map completion, a big tip for you is to try to pick up and hold onto as many as you can as you complete the task, and then sell them all on the trading post for a tiny boost of gold while you explore the world. For us, we completed the task, and I believe I got 2 from doing so, and I will not be getting any more ever again on this character. Moving on, I want to briefly mention the MOA of this map because there are quite a few, and slabs of poacher meat do still seem to be a pretty good gold farm that I have been utilizing, but are also still a bit worse than when we first started this series. I might dive deeper back into this idea in a future video to highlight it again more in depth. I also mentioned that this map features both pink MOA and blue MOA, which is fun. Continuing to another important part of Bloodtide Coast are the world bosses, of which there are two. First is Admiral Tyria Cummington, which is a classic world boss that is kind of a boring fight but a very interesting character. This is a generic world boss, similar to many others like the Swanir Shaman Chief, that can give a decent amount of gold for very minimal effort, where chaining world bosses together and joining a group that goes from boss to boss to boss is typically considered a pretty good farm for new players. As I try to make some gold in this map, I am definitely going to want to hit this world boss if it is convenient, and if I have not already done it that day. The other world boss is Triple Trouble. This is, in my opinion, one of the greatest bosses in Guild Wars 2, and is a phenomenal piece of content that involves the entire map to split up into 3 different groups to kill 3 different heads of a massive jungle worm at the same time, with each head having different mechanics. My personal favorite is Amber Worm, that requires you to get eaten up by the worm, shoot your way out of the stomach, and then stun the worm with a spear gun you found digesting inside of the stomach to begin hurting the boss. Ultimately, the event as a whole is very fun and also very popular, especially the post-reset run every day. But for us, we care about gold. Most of the loot you get throughout this event comes at the end of the event when you open the final chest. Assuming you get the full rewards, you will get the Wurms golden chest, which has several loot bags and unidentified gear that you can get. You also just get 2 gold straight up. Additionally, there are a few bonus items that you could get, like the Annelid rifle skin that sells for about 10 to 15 gold on the trading post. I also mentioned the chance for the Triple Trouble toothpiece, which is a decoration item used in both guild halls and homesteads. You can't sell these directly on the trading post, but looping back around in a somewhat similar way to what we talked about towards the start of this video, you can occasionally find people who will want to buy this decoration and other similar world and raid boss decorations to add to their guild, where they will add you to their guild, you deposit it to the guild, and then they give you gold. The running rate for items like this tends to be about 50 silver each. So, with all that said, let's give this boss a shot. This is actually kind of a long event in the sense that it takes a bit to begin in 2 different ways. The first is that once the event is technically starting, there is a 5-minute start timer, followed by a conversation between different NPCs, followed by a long escort. And the second part is that this is a very preparation heavy event because there are a bunch of different mechanics and requirements for teamwork in this boss that you don't see elsewhere. So often you see groups forming a little early to get different things squared away, meaning that if you want in a successful map, you would have to get to Bloodtide Coast early enough to join, which means you will have to wait even longer. But once you are in the correct map instance, you can go all around the map and do different things like map completion or try to farm gold, or you can even just AFK until the boss fight itself starts. As such, the total time you spend specifically dedicated on this boss could range anywhere from 10 to 40 minutes, depending on what you need and want to do. For us, I'll go ahead and start a timer when the escorts begin, and I'll grab some stuff along the way as we go. Normally, I often just tab back into the game when the escorts finish. And for the fight, again, I love this boss so much and it is such a fun experience. It took the group that I was a part of a little under 17 minutes from the start of the escort to looting the chest at the end. And I got a decent amount of stuff, including a mini Cobalt Great Jungle Worm head, which is a little lucky and a nice bonus in the gold department. I got lots of rares and other mats too, which ultimately all add up to a grand total of 6 gold, 41 silver, and 98 copper, which is roughly equal to about 22 gold and 66 silver an hour. A number that would be a bit less with less lucky drops, but either way is still great. Though, of course, like with any world boss, we can only do this once a day. I also quickly mentioned that I got exactly 1000 achievement points as I beat Triple Trouble, which gives me another little boost of gold with everything I get from that. Now, after having spent a lot of time highlighting some certain things and experimenting with some other stuff, I want to take a brief look at a few different mobs that some people may find interesting. First are the Risen, and the Risen are one of the most common enemies you fight in Central Tyria, but they are a little exciting for us because this is the first time we are really fighting them in this series. But there are a ton of Risen all around Mole's Head and Chaldar Gorges, right in the center of the map, near where you meet up for Triple Trouble. With there being so many Risen and spread out decently well, and are featured in a decent amount of events, there are quite a few that we can kill, which I did consistently for 30 minutes, and the main drop I got was 18 moldy sacks that sell for about 3 silver and 69 copper each, or about 66 silver and 42 copper altogether. I also got 6 piles of luminous dust, selling for about 68 silver and 82 copper, 2 piles of radiant dust selling for 20 silver and 4 copper, alongside several other items that all come together for a grand total of 2 gold, 60 silver and 36 copper, or about 5 gold and 20 silver an hour. About middle of the pack for us. Another interesting mob are the scaled drakes. These are primarily found just south of Marshwatch Haven, and there are a decent amount of them, but definitely much less than the risen. I think these are one of those mobs that you don't really think of, but when you kill a few, you can see that you can get a few decent drops, so I want to give it a try. And as I was fighting the drakes, I had a very weird experience at the 24-minute mark where they just completely stopped spawning altogether. I'm assuming because of my actions, with how I repeatedly kept killing them as they respawned, how this is a small area, and how they aren't really that important for anything else. But after an additional 3 minutes, they started showing back up again, so I could continue killing them for a little bit. In the end, the biggest things I got were 14 scales, selling for about 1 gold and 2 silver, 10 claws, selling for about 48 silver and 10 copper, and 7 slabs of red meat, selling for about 16 silver and 94 copper, with everything else added coming to a grand total of 2 gold, 1 silver and 34 copper, or about 4 gold and 2 silver an hour. And well, that's pretty much all the big things around Bloodtide Coast that I wanted to try out for making gold. Of course, we could kill any mob in the map and make some money off of them, and Bloodtide Coast seems to be kind of a popular map for people exploiting bot farming, especially with the inquest, which I guess is one way to print a virtual currency in a video game, but isn't something I am interested in at all. So I went around the map a little bit more and farmed all of the gold that I needed to get to my goal of 50 gold earned exclusively in the Bloodtide Coast. And honestly, this map was pretty enjoyable to play through, and I had a good time earning all of the gold I did in this video. But as I officially complete everything and return to the trading post, I can pick up the last bit of gold that I need. To quickly go over some stats, I am now at a grand total of 500 gold, which includes a 100 gold boost I got during Winter's Day. I played for a bit over 84 hours, have 33 deaths, and we are now mastery level 6. But now it's time to figure out where we are going to next. Now that we have unlocked and completed Bloodtide Coast, we have a brand new map available for us, Sparkfly Fen, which I feel like will be a pretty similar map to what we just explored. We also have all of the other maps that we have unlocked as well, with Gandaran Fields, Blazeridge Steppes, Dredgehog Cliffs, Timberline Falls, and Frostgorge Sound. I think I'm just along for the journey and don't care too much about which one we get next at this current point. And the one we get next, as always, depends on what the wheel picks. And to the newest edition of Sparkfly Fen we go. As I mentioned, I have a feeling this map is going to be a little similar in a few different ways as we just explored in the Bloodtide Coast, with some very interesting and very popular ideas for us to explore, which will be in the next episode. See you then.